The Swan Combi Challenge for Formula 2 sidecars will be decided over 10 races at 5 British Superbike rounds this season. Leading the entries and the winners of the first race yesterday are the reigning British champions John Holden and Andy Winkle, who were the 7th different winners of that championship in 7 years. Nice to share things out a bit, isn't it? That's how life should be. And they, in fact, won the first race yesterday and on pole position on the grid. And just as I've lost my grid, excuse me, we've got Baker and Baker on their Baker Suzuki. Second place on the grid, Kimberly and Bell. This is incidentally a 2x2 grid, so the front row Baker and Kimberly, the second row Brian and Henry, the third row Kershaw and passenger Wilson alongside Hanks and Hanks Elliott, a famous sidecar name, the Hanks from the Midlands. Dix Parker are on the fourth row of the grid alongside Holden and Winkle, the race winners yesterday on their LCR Suzuki. And then we've got the Harrison and Patterson combination alongside Bennett and Perry. Then Wallace and Wareham alongside Pierce and Pierce. And then the Sanderson combination. You get the gist here. You get quite a lot of kind of brothers and fathers and sons and stuff in the sidecar. Baker, Killingworth, and on row 8, Eastell, Smithies alongside Lumley and Skinner.
I'll tell you what you get. You get a lot of father, or at least 2 father and daughter pairings as well. Tony Baker and Fiona Baker, that's his daughter, and also Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks Elliott.
Yes, the Milligan Cumbria Express Baker Suzuki from Penrith. Tony Baker and Fiona Baker there on pole position, because of course being light, flyweight and nimble is what you need from a passenger.
It is, yeah.
And Fiona, a lady, is liable to be as good at that as anybody.
And a little bit of kind of bravery as well, I would say. I've been on one of these things. But Tony Baker actually builds sidecar outfits, and he actually builds a chassis for about half a dozen of these people on this grid.
So Tony Baker then on pole position. He finished, well, actually, he didn't have such a good race, but the Bakers finished down in 8th place yesterday. So they've got a bit of work to do from their position on the grid. Number 22 alongside them, Dave Kimberley and Robert Bell on the DK Racing Ireson Honda as they come off the line. And for a moment, the Ireson Honda had the inside line, but it's the man off pole position, or rather the man and the lady off pole position, who come out at the front. So it's number 10, the outfit of, trying to get round the outside, the long way round. Number 3, Gary Bryan and Mark Sayers on the Bryan Racing Baker Honda.
Yeah, it is.
He tries to move inside. He's into 2nd place on the black machine, just edging out. There's hardly enough room for these guys, is there? It's scary stuff.
The track is actually just about half as wide for these boys, because it's twice as wide as a solo.
That was a collision there, number 13.
That's Matt Dix and Sean Parker.
They were spun up. They tried to, there was just not room for them to fit up the inside.
That's exactly right, and they won't be finishing second again today like they did yesterday, I don't think.
So Dixon Parker on their DWS Racing Baker Honda. This is what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They were lucky not to collect anybody else there.
Well, when they spun off it, there we are. That's give it a pat on the back. That's another thing a passenger's useful forward. Well, good lad. Just keep it, get it back on. So Baker's leading, Kimberly 2nd, Bryan and Sayers a 3rd. Hanks is in 4th place. 5th is Holden, 6th Henry. I'd love to see names like Hanks. What those guys? They've gone through 3 generations of racers. Yep. Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks Elliott. Hanks Racing from Birmingham, the Molyneux Rose Suzuki. They're in 4th place. The leaders, though, are still the Bakers. So we've still got 2 boy and girl combinations in the top 4. As they come round, oh wow, it's getting messy coming on. In fact, that number 4 outfit of Hanks and Hanks Elliott might just about have snooped through into 3rd place in a rather untidy move there at Clearways. Number 10 still leading the way then, Tony Baker and Fiona Baker.
Yeah, Fiona's a teacher. She's a teacher from Preston, it says.
Would it be fun to be in her class?
What did you do this weekend, miss?
Not what you'd expect, son. It's around Druids, and noticed that the number 1 machine of the reigning British champions, John Holden and Andy Winkle, has forced its way through to 2nd place. They got the better of 2 outfits onto the Brabham Straight and off into Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, and you can see how the sidecar wheel clips over the curb by quite... Oh, and that was easy.
Well, these guys look to have a red-hot outfit, don't they? The Holden Racing LCR Suzuki.
28 out.
Number 28, Gruss Pierce and Rod Pierce on the Pierce Racing LCR Suzuki. The boys from Burnley have gone out. Meanwhile, at the front, it looks to me as if Holden and Winkle are threatening to check out.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the pole sitter's coming under pressure, and Fiona gets eased. Oh, and he's locked up the rear end and really had to he got shoved wide going into paddock. Exactly. Number 10 Baker, and he just couldn't manage to
there's a big crash there.
Ouch.
That's at paddock. Everybody looks to be up and all right.
And that's Simon Neary looking concerned about the condition of his passenger, Paul Napton, but it looks like Paul's okay. The outfit, though, you can notice a distinct lack of bodily enthusiasm in the marshals, thinking they've got to pick this thing up.
That looked like a coming together, I think, between... Oh, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't too completely... Oh, it wasn't.
One car
coming
spun.
together. It was, yeah.
I think one spun and it... Whoa, and look at that. You don't realise how quick the outfit's going till you see a cartwheeling passenger like that.
The outfit stayed on its wheels, the passenger fell out and cartwheeled, and he ain't going any further without a passenger.
Number 1 crossing the line, 4 laps out of 15. It's at the front, John Holden and Andy Winkle.
Safety car out, I think, Jack.
The safety car's out, so everything has to hold station. Really great to see Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks-Elliott out there for Hanks Racing.
It is.
Because their dad, Dad and Grandad were both great racers. In fact, I think Grandad just passed away quite recently. I think that was rather like that other great Midlands sidecar racing family, the Bodies family. To pass us down through the generations. The Nissan safety car comes out then, and I think might be waiting for the boys to catch up. At the moment, it's Holden at the front on machine number 1, Hanks and Hanks-Elliott number 4 next up, and then number 22, Dave Kimberley and Robert Bell from Tyso, and then in 4th place the number 8 outfit, Dean Henry and Ian Smith on the Magnum Racing Windle Suzuki from Shepshed. I think Fiona and her fella have dropped back to 8th place after that big moment going into Paddock Hill Bend.
All these bikes are running on 600cc 4-cylinder engines. All the Japanese manufacturers are represented here.
Sorry, James, I'm just doubling up at what did you do at the weekend, miss?
Sorry.
There are not many teachers. She's probably the only school teacher in the country who would reply with this. And that
is one of the problems with the sidecars, Jack. They do take a little bit of shifting out the gravel.
I think it explains why a mere quartet of marshals were looking distinctly unenthusiastic about shifting it.
Need backup. Yeah, that's Neary carrying the...
I was going to say that Simon Neary's got the easy job there.
And like I was saying, these are what you'd call... I don't know where you can see the chassis laid bare that they've just carried through the gravel. They're what's called... the rules dictate a conventional chassis layout, which means it's got to be tubular construction, no monocoque or folded and riveted aluminium, and it has to be fork front end, a fork steering system, no hub centre steering like some of the worm outfits, are really long outfits. So these are what you'd call traditional old style outfits, all 600 motors,
that explains why they move around so much.
It does, yeah, it absolutely does, yeah. All the Japanese manufacturers involved in not so much supplying engines but being used by the builders. Lots of these lads actually build their own sidecar outfits, tinker. They all tend to be kind of backyard kind of engineers, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, put it this way, in all their vans they'll have oxy, acetylene and MIG tackle so they can weld the stuff back together. Yeah, and that's looks like it's stuck in the gravel, that one, and they do take a bit. These things, they only actually weigh about 200 kilos, these outfits. They're not really heavy, but
awkward.
Very awkward. Yeah,
that's the number 32 outfit of Richard Lumley and Paul Skinner. So it was Paul Skinner who went end over end in such a fine ragtag and bobtail fashion when he got ejected.
One of the marshals are saying we need it over there, and then they just say no, put it here. This is nearest. They don't want to carry it any further.
So up to the top into Druids Hill Bend. Then we've still got the guys in order behind. I'm looking for who's in the 5th place is number 3 outfit, Gary Bryan and Mark Sayers. Incidentally, what you were saying, there are in fact the Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha and Kawasaki all represented. There's only one Kawasaki engine motor, and that's Richard Lumley and Paul Skinner. Or it was. There it is, in fact. That was the Kawasaki race.
I don't think the engine had anything to do with this incident. But the rules are quite open on the tuning. You're allowed to tune just about pretty much as you want. The problem is that carrying a 200 kilo sidecar and 2 blokes possibly weighing 70, 80, 90 kilos, the problem is that you don't want full power. You don't want 140 brake horse that's all at the top. You're better with 150, 120, 125 that's got some mid-range and some grunt, because it's grunt that counts when you're carrying a lot of weight.
I know that the great days of sidecar beach racing, which was one of the most exciting things I ever saw, when I got given a run out on one at Wallasey Sands that frightened the wits out of me. But the really impressive ones were Moriwaki Kawasaki engines. They were beasts.
But that sidecar beach racing, it always seemed the most pointless thing. And I had a go in one, and then it seemed to make perfect sense. It seemed such good fun.
It was the most thrilling thing to photograph I think I've ever tried to do in my life.
I got a lot of sand in my eyes when I had to go.
Yes, so did I. And also, I couldn't quite believe the noise and the spray and the vibration. So here we go.
Lights are off.
The lights are off. So we're going to lose they're building up now to restart the race just over half distance. So we're going to have about a 6-lap dash here at Brands Hatch to finish off the day.
Yep, I think the race, the pace car will be in this lap. It turned his lights out.
Okay.
Early there, I think.
Yep. So safety car in this lap. So they're going to just cruise on for a little while long. Yes, we both enjoyed them. Steve Webster took me around Silverstone for a couple of laps, and that was a fairly a commendable experience, actually very enjoyable.
I went round Imola on a 1000cc Suzuki engined big long Formula 1 sidecar with a guy called Bill Phillips, and I was very, very frightened. It was the fact that he's a bit of a known nutter, is Bill, and I knew that when I got on, and I told him, look, don't muck about, I don't scare easy. And he said, tap me on my shoulder if I'm going too fast for you. I dare let go. So he thought I wasn't scared.
He thought I wasn't scared. I did it the other way around. I went with Steve Webster, who, world champion or not, was one of the most sensible men ever to race a sidecar. And here we go. The reigning British champion then at the front. Number 1, John Holden, leads the way across after 10 laps. Another 5 laps to go. 2/3 distance. And Roy Hanks in 2nd place. 3rd place for number 22, Dave Kimberley. 4th place for number 8, Dean Henry. Look at the varying styles, and that very articulate lady's leg on the Hanks Elliott platform there being hung out. She went round.
You'll see as the drivers are skillful when they turn into a corner, into a left-hand corner. They can actually pick the wheel up and make it float over the curve. They don't actually touch the job, so they can actually run the actual, what you'd call the bike wheels, the inline wheels, right against the curb, and the sidecar just pops over it.
I beg your pardon, it's number 22 that's got the elegant leg. That's Robert Bell. I'm sorry about Robert. I won't insinuate that you were a lady.
I didn't want to say
Robert Bell with the elegant poised leg, and of course they've got to get their weight right. The sidecar man, look at him, he's trailing his leg right over the right hand side.
You just said that because you thought it was a lady.
And as they drop now into Druids, the sun shines out again, and there isn't on. We've lost one of the back markers, number 86, Paul Sanderson. And Stephen Sanderson on the DDR 600 Suzuki.
And a red flag.
And a red flag's gone out. And this is what I remember of the joys of commentating world sidecar races a few years back, is that red flags were sort of the order of the day.
We didn't see. I don't know if there's any. Whether the incident involving Paul Sanderson and Stephen Sanderson has put any oil down, I don't know. That could be the case.
It often was.
Yeah.
So there's Winkle, Andy Winkle, great name.
What's his legs like? No, what they're like, all right. You seem to be an expert.
Oh, here we go. Oh, and someone got spun off. And now there's two.
Yeah, and I think it is. If you look, there's two spun. One spun in the pit lane. I think there must be oil down for something.
Yes,
because you can see the lanyard. You see him pulling the lanyard out. That's the thing that if the driver leaves contact with the machine, it actually cuts the engine out, cuts the ignition. They're all clipped in. Look,
they did look a bit mystified as to why they'd gone off then, didn't they?
Yeah. And they're helping him retrieve their own sidecar. Good of them.
So Team Sanderson Racing sorting out their bike. Or their machine, rather. We would think that... have we gone far enough for that to be considered a verdict? At the moment,
yes,
John Holden and Andy Winkle on the Holden Racing Suzuki. That is a result. He wins it. Second place goes to Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks-Elliott on the Hanks Racing Molyneux Rose Suzuki.
I'll tell you what, it's a result if you kept going.
It is. And in third place, 22, which is the combination of Dave Kimberley and the leg-waving Robert Bell on the DK Racing Ireson Honda. And there we are. They're always lived-in faces. Races, aren't they?
I think sidecar racing does that to you.
And they know how to enjoy life as well. A passenger from the Paddock Hill accident needs to be transferred. And he's the passenger that did cartwheel across the gravel trap. He didn't actually look to hit anything that hard. No, he didn't. So with a bit of luck, he was going awfully fast.
He was. So with a bit of luck, it's not too serious. So
the results, of course, we had the first race yesterday won by Holden and Winkle from Dixon Parker with Hanks and Hanks-Elliott third. Which will mean that after the two races, Holden and Winkle will be the men on top of the championship with Hanks and the lady Hanks-Elliott in second place. So we'll bring, let's have a check out of the results of the second race in the Swan Combi Challenge F2 Sidecar Championship. And that was victory for John Holden and sidekick Andy Winkle. Second place, Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks-Elliott. Third place for Dave Kimberley and Robert Bell. Fourth place for the number 8 machine of Dean Henry and Ian Smith. Fifth place for the number 3 machine of Gary Bryan and Mark Sayers. And in sixth place, a splendid name from the north of England, Kershaw. Bike number 29, Stephen Kershaw and Robin Wilson on the Kershaw Racing LCR Suzuki. Ahead of, in seventh place, Harrison and Patterson. In eighth place, the two Baker boys. Oh, no, I beg your pardon, that's Fiona Top. Sorry, Fiona, I do beg your pardon. That's number 10. The number 10 outfit of Tony Baker and Fiona Baker on the Milligan Cumbria Express Suzuki. And they were followed in ninth place by number 42. And that was Miles Bennett and Kevin Perry. And in 10th place, the Eastall and Smith combination. Which means that the standings after two races here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, Holden and Winkle on 50 points in the lead. Second place for Hanks and Hanks-Elliott on 36. Third place for Kimberley, that's Kimberley and Bell. And fourth place, we've got the Henry and Smith combination. Fifth place, we have Kershaw and sidekick Wilson. Sixth place for the people who finished second last time, Dixon Parker. Seventh place for Bryan and Sayers. Eighth place for the Bakers with Fiona in the chair. In ninth place, we've got Harrison and Patterson. And in 10th place, we've got Bennett and Perry. Off the start then, it was a good start from those on the pole position. On outfit number 10, Tony Baker and Fiona Baker grabbed an early advantage, and then a collision down the Cooper Straight pitched the number 13 outfit of Matt Dixon, Sean Parker off the track. They were able to rejoin, in fact, and come home eventually in 13th place, which was a pretty impressive recovery by them. But the irresistible form of the reigning British champions, John Holden and Andy Winkle on the Holden Racing LCR Suzuki, took them to the front, while a big mistake going into paddock with no room for the Tony Baker and Fiona Baker put them wide, and then this unfortunate collision going down into Paddock Hill Bend, which meant that eventually the pace car was put out for a considerable length of time. One of the machines involved was the number 32 outfit, Richard Lumley and Paul Skinner, and eventually Paul Skinner needing to be transferred in an ambulance. A spin-off down the final turn, got the red flag out, and that meant that the winners, the leaders and the championship leaders, John Holden and Andy Winkle.
And we are here with John Holden and Andy Winkle. John, how was the race for you? I would imagine when the safety car came out, it made things pretty tough.
Yeah, I've never done sort of 3 or 4 laps of slow in my life. Yeah, we're good though, but I mean, I hope everybody's all right that's had their offs and that, so yeah, no, we're good, and thanks everybody.
What do you think to this new qualification system then, where it puts the slower riders in front for this second race, the reverse grid almost?
Yeah, I think it'd be all right on a track where there's a bit more room, but when we're all charging into Paddock Hill, it's bad enough as it is, to get round there anyhow. But when there's a swarm of you, if you saw the first lap, we were falling over each other. So I'm not sure. But it's good TV though, I guess.
It's great TV, and thank you for admitting that to us. But it's great to see you on top of the podium. Now, Andy Winkle alongside you. Andy, you're a postman by day. Was that an easy delivery to make out there today? Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was. Well, it seemed like half the race was under the safety car, and as we could see, the guys who came off are okay. But as you were saying about the reverse grid, we don't really think it was a good idea because. I saw Matt Dexy got skittled. He was across the front of us and he went on the grass. I didn't see his bike again, so it's a bit too hectic, really. But it's exciting, but it's fiberglass and kit time, so hey-ho.
Well, you have to do a bit of patching up. Everybody will have to do a bit of patching up after that. But what does this mean for the rest of the season for you guys, do you think, Andy?
Well, we'll be doing the rest of obviously following this championship, and then we've got the British Championship starts next week. But the main focus is going to be the TT, and plus with the Formula 2s, they're going to have a World Mini-Series, like 6 races. So we'll be doing that this season. So we've got a full season, and at the end of the season, hopefully finish off with the Sunflower like we did last year.
Fantastic. John is going to keep you busy. You're keeping him busy as well. Great to see you on top of the podium. Well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
There you go, guys. Off you go to the podium then. We'll let the pair of you go. You too, Andy. Go on, get out. Follow him. He's your driving. Just get out. There you go, sidecar combinations. The same wherever you go around the world. Good boys all around. Time to get on with their podium then. Jack will take us through it.
So road racing, as ever, is one of the main targets for these sidecar boys. Well, obviously the Swan Combi Challenge for Formula 2 sidecars, which is going to be decided over 10 races at 5 British Superbike rounds, which means a race on Saturday and a race on Sunday at each of those rounds. Now, John Holden and Andy Winkle making the best possible start to the defence of their British Championship. And they've previously been runners-up in both the Isle of Man TT races and the British Championship prior to finally winning it. They finally clinched that title after claiming 6 wins from 11 races during 2009. The Swan Combi Challenge then is won by John Holden and Andy Winkle, and Hanks Elliott, the lady Hanks Elliott, in second place, and third place for Kimberly and Bell. We wait for them, and these are the guys striding out now. Number 22 outfit, Dave Kimberly and Robert Bell, DK Racing, Iverson Honda from Taiso. Second place for Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks Elliott of the great Hanks Racing dynasty. They come from Birmingham, Molyneux Rolls Suzuki. And the winners all the way down from Preston on their LCR Suzuki Holden Racing pair, John Holden and Andy Winkle, who, as they say, as they pointed out, they finish off their season at the great Sunflower meeting in Ireland at the end of the year. And Julie Hanks Elliott looking very pleased with the fact that she's on the rostrum. And the sidecar podium being presented by none other than former British solo champion Roger Marshall. Good to see dear old Roger Marshall back in action, presenting the trophies. Not a very big trophy for 2 grown men to share, but there you go. John Holden there, having finally clinched that British Championship last year, obviously looking to repeat it this year in the Swan Combi Challenge. So we look forward to more sidecar action in the future. Meanwhile, we'll leave them to spray themselves silly when waste several perfectly good bottles of champagne. So congratulations then to Dave Kimberly and Robert Bell, to Roy Hanks and Julie Hanks Elliott, and the winners of the first 2 rounds of the 2010 Swan Combi Challenge, John Holden and Andy Winkle.